Hey there, I'm Helper Wesley, and this is the third video in our example platformer series. In the last video, we finished with this. We had some platforms, a background, some enemies, and coins to pick up. But of course we want to make this bigger than one screen. So, we need to expand the background and foreground objects. And then we'll add some more objects. For a simple camera, we're going to use the Smooth Camera extension. And then we need to add it as a behavior to the player object. There are a bunch of useful options in here, but we're going to leave those alone and just uncheck the Follow on the Y-axis checkbox. And now if we preview the game, you'll see the camera is smoothly following the character along the X-axis. And for these moving platforms, we've just given them the rectangular movement behavior, like we did with the fly enemy. And then to create a more interesting background and foreground, we want to add a little bit of parallax. And the simplest way that I've found to do that is using image offset. And this only really works for tiled sprites. So we set the X offset of the background object to be equal to the camera X position divided by 3. So it'll move slower than the camera. And then we set the X offset of the clouds in the foreground to be set to the camera X position times 1.1, so it'll move a little faster than everything in scene. And this is what that looks like. But next we're going to put down some boundaries in our level, so the player and camera won't go beyond a certain point. So what I have here are sprite objects with a transparent square image as their animation. And I have one for left, right, top, and bottom of the screen. So I'll just put those all in place, where I want the scene to start and end. And you can see that these all have the platform behavior, so the character can't go through them. And now if we go to the event sheet, to make this work, we need to add the action Enforce Camera Boundaries. And for the positions of this, we're using those objects. The left boundary, right boundary, bottom, and top. But for the left and top, you need to add their width and height, so you're getting the innermost edge. And now if we preview that, you'll see that the character and camera stop at this point. And then to make sure that those don't show up on screen, we hide the group of objects called helper objects. And if we go to our object groups, you'll see that the left and right boundary are in this group. Next, we're going to add a ladder. This object has the platform behavior and is set to ladder. And as you can see, we've given the player character a climbing animation called climb. And so if we go to the event sheet and look at how the animations work, you can see that from the last video that we've slotted in 2 more events. One where if the player is moving and is on a ladder, set the animation to climb and play the animation. Whereas if they're not moving and they're on a ladder, pause the animation. And you can see what that looks like. You can go up and down the ladder, and when you stop moving, it stops playing. But the problem with this is that when you get to the top of the ladder, so I have another sprite object here with the jump through platform behavior. And we're going to put that down on top of the ladder. And now the character is able to stand on top of it when they get to the top of the ladder, and can drop down by pressing the down key. The reason you can't see it is because it's a part of the same group that we hid with the borders. Next, we'll go over the checkpoints. We'll put some of these into the scene. And as you can see, it has an inactive, active, and also inactive animation. And it has an effect that is the adjustment type, which lets you change some visual things about the object. In this case, the saturation, which is set to 0. So when the game starts, it'll start off as gray. And to do this, we're going to use the extension checkpoints. So if we go to the event sheet, we can see the checkpoint setting event. So if the player object collides with a checkpoint object, we'll play a sound, and then pick all checkpoint objects and set their saturation to 0, and set their animation to inactive. And then the event below, that is picking only the object that we're colliding with, set its saturation to 1, change its animation to active, and use the action Save Checkpoint, with the object being the player, and the X and Y position being the X and Y position of the checkpoint. And then we'll give it the name player position. And then at the beginning of the scene, we do the same thing, but instead use the X and Y position of the player as the starting checkpoint. And then for the player's death, we've replaced the move to a position action with the move player to the checkpoint action. And this is what that looks like. You'll see that when a new checkpoint is activated, the old one deactivates and gets desaturated. And then when you die, you go back to whichever one was last checked. Next, we're going to create an end screen, so that in this level, when you get to the end, this end screen will pop up and let you restart the game. So first we need to add a layer and call it end screen. And then we have a sprite object that we're going to use as a darkening layer. And then we'll put some text objects in there to say, congratulations, you got this many points. And then if you got the highest score possible, we'll display this text. But if you didn't, we'll display this one. And we'll put those over each other so that we can hide the one that we don't want. And then finally, a big bold text for the retry button. And we need to make sure that these are all put onto the end screen layer that we created. And that way, if we hide the layer, we hide everything. So to make this work, we need to look at our events, where if the player collides with the portal at the end of the level, we change the black background to have a lower opacity so you can see through it, show the layer end screen, and deactivate the player's platformer behavior. And then, if the end screen layer is visible, we trigger once these below events, starting with modifying the text of the end screen subheader that tells you how many points you got. We have you got, in quotations, plus the variable score, plus points, in quotations. So we have two sets of text and a variable in between, combined together with plus signs. And then, based on what the score they got was, we hide whichever one of the text objects says that they got the max score or could do better. And then to be able to restart the game, we have the retry text object. And to make it obvious that you're supposed to click on it, we've set it up so that when your cursor is over the object, it starts to shake the object. And when it's not over the object, it stops. And then finally, if your cursor is over the retry text object and the left mouse button is released, we change the scene to the current scene to restart the level. And that is a lot of information, but this is what that looks like. We show the layer, darken the background, display the score variable in between that text, and then if we hover over retry, it'll start shaking. And if we click on that, the game will start over. This brings us to the end of the platformer example series. So be sure to comment down below and tell us what kind of example series you would like to see next. And please, no one ask for World of Warcraft. I've been Helper Wesley, and I'm glad I could help.